Oh,
Hi.
hi. We look like stunned fish. I do. Um, okay, here
We're
we
on
go.
our final descent into the final lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost feels like the last week of high school.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes, that does feel like that.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
bittersweet, you know? It's like, oh, this is awesome, but oh, this is awful. Anyway, all right. I'm going to read the introduction on the final lessons, and then Nook's going to share lesson 361. We may unpack something in this final lesson intro. I don't know. Let's see. Our final lessons will be left as free of words as possible. We use them but at the beginning of our practicing and only to remind us that we seek to go beyond them. Let us turn to Him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. To Him we leave these lessons, as to Him we give our lives henceforth. For we would not return again to the belief in sin, which made the world seem ugly and unsafe, attacking and destroying, dangerous in all its ways, and treacherous beyond the hope of trust and the escape from pain. His is the only way to find the peace that God has given us. It is His way that everyone will travel in the end, because it is this ending God Himself appointed. In the dream of time, it seems to be far off, and yet, in truth, it is already here, already serving us as gracious guidance in the way to go. Let us together follow in the way that truth points out to us, and let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking for the way, but find it not. And to this purpose, let us dedicate our minds, directing all our thoughts to serve the function of salvation. Unto us the aim is given to forgive the world. It is the goal that God has given us. It is His ending to the dream we seek, and not our own. For all that we forgive, we will not fail to recognize as part of God Himself. And thus His memory is given back completely and complete. It is our function to remember Him on earth as it is given us to be His own completion in reality. So let us not forget our goal is shared, for it is that remembrance which contains the memory of God and points the way to Him and to the heaven of His peace. And shall we not forgive our brother who can offer this to us? He is the way, the truth, and life that shows the way to us. In Him resides salvation, offered us through our forgiveness given unto Him. We will not end this year without the gift our Father promised to His Holy Son. We are forgiven now, and we are saved from all the wrath we thought belonged to God and found it was a dream. We are restored to sanity, in which we understand that anger is insane, attack is mad, and vengeance merely foolish fantasy. We have been saved from wrath because we learned we were mistaken, nothing more than that. And is a father angry at his son because he failed to understand the truth? We come in honesty to God and say, we did not understand, and ask Him to help us to learn His lessons through the voice of His own teacher. Would He hurt His son? Or would He rush to answer him and say, "This is my son, and all I have is his"? Be certain He will answer thus, for these are His own words to you. And more than that can no one ever have. For in these words is all there is, and all that there will be throughout all time and in eternity.
Thank you, sis. I felt that deeply, especially when you read this part. We come in honesty to God and say we did not understand, and ask Him to help us to learn His lessons through the voice of His own teacher. Would He hurt His son? Or would He rush to answer him and say, "This is my son, and all I have is his"? Be certain He will answer thus, for these are His own words to you. Wow. This is my son, and all I have is his. Why would we argue with that? I'm sorry, but it's just glaringly obvious to me in this moment when it pierced my heart when you read that. And I went, why would I spend one moment, one unnecessary moment, entertaining the idea of unworthiness or guilt or blame or judgment? I mean, it's done already. That's what just hit me. I don't know if I find it difficult to explain, but why would I argue with God? Who would argue with God? Who would maintain an identity apart from God? How could that be?
Maybe it isn't.
What's it feel like to rest in that, in the truth of what He knows about us?
It's the atonement, it's the worthiness to step up and accept the gift that's already given. I've always loved the story of the prodigal son in the Bible because it's each and every one of our story, and it's so amazing. The son that goes and spends his father's inheritance and becomes in want, and then hits the wall basically and turns around and is so afraid that the father's going to judge him, and he's so unworthy that he really thinks, well, I'll just go back to my father and say I'll be a servant. At least they have food to eat and a bed to sleep on. And there's the second son that's at home that's upset that the first son spent his inheritance and the father's throwing him this big party, and the second son's upset, and the father comes out to him and says, your brother was lost and he's found and he's back. Well, don't you want to come in and join the celebration? And the son balks and says, well, I've been a good son and I've been home and I'm doing everything that you asked me to, and I don't have a party. And the father turns to that son and looks at him, and you can feel it. I've always felt at the felt state of that. Son, thou art always with me, and all that I have is thine. And I think the moral of all of that is ultimately, we are the second son that never left home. And that's the Father's declaration to every single one of us. Or as he said to Jesus, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. That's his only declaration over his son. Yeah. Why would you hide from that? Yeah.
Question we need to ask ourselves in every moment.
Just so grateful that because of God's grace and perfect love, it never actually occurred.
And the dream is over for us in the moment we truly accept that.
Yes.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you.
Is there a lesson to go with this?
361, 362, 363. Yeah.
Wait a
And
minute.
5.
So are we including lesson 361 here?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm just being naughty. Sorry. Yes.
Are you being naughty again?
Yes, sorry.
I'll have to tell God about you.
He's pleased with me. There's nothing you can do.
See? I know. Just thought I'd try. Okay. So we have a lesson, which is very important here. And it will be repeated through 61 to 65. Is that right? 361 to 365. Here we go. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace.
We've got brings me peace, but that's okay.
I like brings.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need a word to help me, he will give it to me. If I need a thought, that will he give also. And if I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of him. He is in charge by my request, and he will hear and answer me, because he speaks for God, my Father, and his Holy Son. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace.
Thank you, sis. If I might, there's a footnote here, might be helpful just to read just today. He's referring to that paragraph, the one that we were given. He says, "These are all ways in which the Holy Spirit may step in and guide our practice period. He may give us a word to repeat. We may not be ready for a complete absence of words. He may give us a thought to dwell on, and he may just give us a still, tranquil, open mind. Thus, even though Jesus has talked as if the bulk of our practice period will be free of words, we need to be open to our individual need as understood by the Holy Spirit." I guess he's pointing to just ask and then trust what you receive.
Yeah. Wow. So a few things have come into my mind, and I'm asking what is valuable and what is not. Yeah. Do we want to recommend a blog for this one too?
Yeah, you had a blog.
Yeah, it's titled "Do You Want to Awaken or Do You Want Inner Peace?" Yeah, and it's going to be below the video here, and yeah, and it's an eye opener, because do you want to awaken or do you want inner peace? It's kind of a curious question, isn't it?
Yeah, it threw me at first when you told me the title, because I was thinking inner peace is the way to awakening, but yet if the spiritualized ego is driving the mind, the last thing it's going to want is inner peace, and it's going to go for, pounding on the principles and very heady and very wordy, and that's actually being duped as a distraction, because awakening comes from this tranquil, still, open mind.
That's where the miracle occurs, in the holy instant, mindful presence here and now, and accepting the atonement. We don't actually do anything except choose to accept it and receive it. Right. And so the spiritualized ego is redundant. And I found this, and I've spoken about it before. I had a few years there where it was the spiritualized ego that was seeking enlightenment, awakening. And it was very painful, very, very painful.
Yes.
And it's the same ego, it's the same ego that avoids peace at any cost. If we read, the obstacles to peace in chapter 19, the first one is the desire to get rid of peace. That's the spiritualized ego, because its adrenaline rush is in the hunt. There's no hunting in peace. There's a quiet receiving, quiet acceptance.
Yeah. It's so foreign to the mind that has always fed off of knowing, pursuing, learning, and then demonstrating that it knows. I don't know if I've even spoken about it, but that's really where I'm at right now. Just completely letting the spiritualized ego crash and burn, because I was seeing that it was blocking where I desire to go. I really thought it was helping, but it's not. It all has to go. And I was still thinking that it was helpful, but I'm now recognize that none of it is helpful at this stage. Learning is over, and now it's about embodying by being, making the invitation and allowing.
That's it. That's it, sis. Thank you for joining me here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feels like a bit of a free fall, but that's good. That's letting go of control.
Would you say from your experience that doing these lessons has accelerated that process for you?
Oh, it's everything. This whole year doing these workbook lessons with all of you has really allowed me to live the lessons instead of just being a teacher online. Yeah, it's the power of the joining. I feel like all of these lessons, I've been living them, as we go along, like whatever's up for us, and I'm living it real time, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. So it's beautiful. It's absolutely perfect. And I can tell from some of the comments that you guys are making that you're coming right along. It's the same thing. It's not going to mirror mine exactly, but it's absolutely perfect where you're at. The lessons are speaking right to you, and you're undoing the layers. Yeah. So yes, sis, I would say definitely.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
How do you say thank you for that?
It's interesting. One of the biggest ways to say thank you for that is to accept it
Mm-hmm.
within.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we truly accept with gratitude this, we're doing it for all of mankind.
Right. Yeah. The house of cards will fall, but it takes, it takes some doing, and then it catches.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's a huge celestial speed up going on because there's enough that want the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah, there's going to be underneath in the description box and show more, there's going to be the blog that sis just mentioned. But we also are padding out the next 5 lessons with another link that has 5 blogs. It's a series or a set, and each one contains a healing demonstration, like literal miracles. And Nouk has shared so generously from her own experience about how the course and application and accepting the atonement has led to healed conditions which ego's laws say cannot be healed or take time. So we invite you to take a dive into that, and we'll be talking about it more in a couple days.
Good, because as Jesus says, the miracle violates all the ego's laws, right?
Yes.
So these are just a few of the miracles that happened earlier, maybe like a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But none of the abundant miracles that have occurred over the last 2 or 3 years. I haven't had time to write about those yet.
So you can tell us about those.
Yeah.
If it felt right.
What about you, sis? You've got a few to share.
Yeah, it's just that during that time, I really wasn't even a course student. So I didn't know if it was right to, the principles are the same. Yeah.
They're universal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good.
Thanks, guys. Okay. So that's the intro and lesson 361. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.